It was a cold, foggy night in Tasmania when a man was walking home across Richmond Bridge. Now, he'd crossed this bridge 100 times before, but tonight, something felt off. As he walked, the air became thick and heavy, and it was pressing down on him. And then he saw it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, following right behind him. He turned around, there was no one there, and his heart started to pound. He knew what he had to do, and it was to run. But as he picked up his pace, so did the footsteps behind him. And then this freezing gust of wind hit him, and suddenly he felt an invisible force just shove him hard. He crashed into the stone walkway. Dazed, he scrambled to his feet and he sprinted off that bridge. And when he finally looked back, he saw him. A tall, shadowy figure stood motionless in the middle of the bridge, watching, and then just as quickly as he appeared, he vanished. To understand what happened that night, we have to go back almost 200 years to the origins of that bridge and the man who never left it. Richmond Bridge was built in 1825 by convicts under brutal conditions. They were forced to work long hours, barely fed, and punished for the smallest of mistakes. But what made things even worse was a man in charge of them, George Grover. Now, Grover wasn't just a guard. No, he was a sadist. He whipped and beat the convicts relentlessly, sometimes just for his own amusement. In fact, locals said he was so feared that even other officers kept their distance. For years, Grover ruled with an iron fist until one fateful night in 1832. After a long evening of drinking, he was walking home across the very bridge he had overseen the construction of. But this time, he wasn't alone. A group of convicts, men who had suffered under his cruelty, were waiting for him in the darkness. Now, no one knows exactly what happened next, but the next morning, Grover's body was found at the bottom of the bridge. His skull was crushed, his body broken, and just like that, the reign of his terror was over. Or so they thought. Ever since that night, people have encountered terrifying encounters on Richmond Bridge. Travellers walking alone hear heavy boots behind them, only to turn around and find no one there. Others describe this overwhelming feeling of dread, as if someone or something is watching them. But the most chilling stories come from those who say that they've seen him. A tall man dressed in old-fashioned clothing, silently pacing the bridge only to disappear into thin air. Now, some say that this is just an old ghost story. Others believe it's something way more sinister. But if you ever find yourself on Richmond Bridge at night and you hear footsteps behind you, do yourself a favour and don't turn around. If you want to see the full version of this story and more, check out my YouTube channel at Lord Parvin. The link is in the bio.